3 a.m. A concrete classroom on the outskirts of Pyongyang. The power grid has been dead for 4 hours. The temperature is below freezing. Yet inside this windowless room, 40 children, no older than 10, sit in absolute silence. The only sound is the scratching of graphite against cheap paper. They are not drawing. They are not writing stories. Under the dim, flickering light of a single kerosene lamp, they are solving multi-variable calculus equations. Their fingers are numb. Their breathing is shallow. But they do not stop. They cannot stop. This is not a school. It is a sorting facility. A biological assembly line designed to mass-produce the most devastating digital weapons on Earth. In a country that cannot generate enough electricity to light its own capital, the regime has found a different kind of power.
They are building an invisible army, and these children are the raw material.
The Reconnaissance General Bureau, North Korea's premier intelligence agency, does not recruit hackers. It breeds them. The process begins in primary schools across the nation. Mathematics teachers are instructed to watch. They look for anomalies. They look for the child who sees patterns where others see chaos. The child who processes numbers faster than humanly normal. Once a target is identified, the state steps in. There is no negotiation. There is no consent form for the parents. The child is simply relocated, taken from their provincial homes, and plunged into a hyper-competitive, deeply paranoid ecosystem. They are stripped of their childhood. They are stripped of their individuality. They become assets of the state.
The psychological breakdown begins immediately. These 10-year-olds are introduced to a brutal meritocracy. The stakes are not grades. The stakes are survival. In North Korea, the caste system is rigid. But for these prodigies, a loophole exists. Success in this program means elevating their entire bloodline. It means moving their family from a starving farming village to a heated apartment in Pyongyang. It means access to imported food. But failure carries an equally absolute weight. To fall behind is to be discarded. To be discarded is to return to the famine. The children know this. The state makes sure they know this. This pressure fractures the mind. It erases empathy. It replaces human emotion with a cold, calculating drive to solve the equation, to break the system, to survive. They are taught to view the outside world not as a place of people, but as a matrix of vulnerabilities. A giant, bloated target waiting to be dismantled. At age 17, the elite fraction of these prodigies enters the University of Automation, formerly known as Miram College. This heavily guarded military installation is the ultimate forge. Here, the curriculum shifts from theoretical mathematics to weaponized code. The training regimen is staggering. 14 hours a day, 6 days a week. They study the architecture of global financial systems. They dissect the firewalls of the United States Department of Defense. They reverse engineer the security protocols of South Korean infrastructure. They learn to write malware that leaves no fingerprints.
They learn to exploit zero-day vulnerabilities before the creators even know they exist.
But here is the ultimate paradox. These teenagers are being trained to conquer the internet. Yet, they have never seen it.
North Korea is entirely disconnected from the World Wide Web. Its citizens are restricted to Kwangmyong, a heavily censored, isolated national intranet. These cadets are blindfolded soldiers being taught to snipe targets in a world they are forbidden to look at. They learn the topography of American networks without ever seeing a Western website. They understand the coding languages of global banking without ever owning a bank account. Their entire reality is a simulation, a closed loop of attack and defense scenarios.
The state carefully controls their perception.
They are fed a steady diet of propaganda, framing their hacking not as theft, but as righteous warfare against imperialist enemies. They are not criminals. They are cyber warriors, patriots defending the motherland from behind a keyboard. The psychological conditioning goes deeper. They are taught that the digital realm is a battlefield where morality does not exist. The concept of stealing is reframed as wealth redistribution from corrupt capitalists to the glorious republic. They study the SWIFT banking network not as a tool for commerce, but as a series of unlocked doors. They memorize the routing numbers of the Federal Reserve. They analyze the patch cycles of Microsoft Windows, looking for the tiny window of opportunity before an update secures a flaw. They are taught patience, the ability to sit inside a compromised network for months, entirely dormant, mapping every server, reading every email, waiting for the precise millisecond to strike. The University of Automation does not just teach coding. It teaches the psychology of the enemy. How a tired bank employee might click a malicious PDF attachment on a Friday afternoon. How a system administrator might ignore a minor error log. They weaponize human error. They dive into assembly language. They learn to manipulate memory registers. They practice buffer overflow attacks until it becomes muscle memory. The instructors, veterans of early cyber skirmishes, demand perfection. A single missed semicolon in a script can mean detection. Detection means failure. They are taught the art of digital stealth, how to route traffic through proxies in China and Russia, how to scrub server logs, how to use encrypted communication channels to mask their origins. They are building the foundation for what the world will soon know as the Lazarus Group, or Bureau 121. The naming conventions do not matter. The capability is what terrifies intelligence agencies worldwide. This facility produces about 100 elite operatives every year. 100 human algorithms programmed for one specific purpose: extortion, sabotage, espionage. They are a standing army that requires no food rations on the battlefield, no armored vehicles, no supply lines. Just a terminal and an uplink. And as they prepare to graduate, the state prepares to deploy them. Not to trenches, but to cheap apartments in foreign cities, where they will finally plug into the real internet, and the world will feel their presence. You are watching Clarity Uncovered. We analyze the invisible forces shaping our world, the systems you trust, and the minds that break them. If you want to understand the architecture of modern warfare, subscribe now. Because the story of Bureau 121 is just beginning. We are about to cross the border. Graduation is not a ceremony. It is an activation. The top tier of the University of Automation does not stay in Pyongyang. They are deployed across the border. They infiltrate cities like Shenyang in China, or operate from safe houses in Southeast Asia. They are given false identities. They pose as freelance software developers. They live in cramped, dilapidated apartments. They eat cheap instant noodles. But for the first time in their lives, they are plugged into high-speed, unfiltered global broadband. The blindfolds are off. The weapons are hot. By day, they might code low-level apps for foreign clients to maintain their cover. By night, they become Bureau 121. They are the Lazarus Group. They are APT-38. They begin hunting. November 2014, Sony Pictures Entertainment in Los Angeles. A Hollywood studio with a multi-million-dollar security budget. The North Korean hackers do not breach the walls with brute force. They use a simple spear phishing email. A fake Apple 1D verification sent to a Sony executive. A single click opens the door. For weeks, the operatives sit inside the network. They map the file servers. They locate the unreleased films. They find the financial records. Then, they detonate the payload. They deploy a custom wiper malware. It is compiled in C++. It is designed to evade 60 different commercial antivirus engines. It overwrites the master boot records of thousands of computers. It erases data. It physically bricks the hard drives. It sends the infected machines into an endless reboot loop. 75% of Sony's servers are instantly vaporized. The internal email system crashes. Payroll records are locked behind military-grade encryption. The damage is estimated at over $30 million. The perpetrators are sitting in a dingy room thousands of miles away, staring at glowing monitors, dismantling an American corporation with keystrokes. February 2016. The target shifts from corporate sabotage to raw capital. Bangladesh Bank. The hackers need to fund the regime. They infiltrate the central bank's network in Dhaka. Again, no alarms ring. They navigate to the SWIFT terminal, the secure messaging system used by global banks to transfer billions. They wait for a Friday night, when the bank staff goes home for the weekend. The central bank in Dhaka becomes a ghost town. They inject malware directly into the SWIFT software infrastructure.
The code modifies the local database to hide the outbound transfer logs. They alter the code to bypass security checks. They spoof the authentic credentials of bank directors. They send 35 fraudulent transfer requests to the New York Federal Reserve. They ask for nearly $1 billion to be moved to accounts in the Philippines and Sri Lanka. They even deploy a secondary virus to disable the specific physical printer in Dhaka that prints transaction confirmations. They blind the bank. Only a spelling error in a routing instruction prevents the full billion from disappearing, but $81 million vanishes into the ether. It is laundered through casinos in Manila. It is converted into hard currency. The operation is flawless. The hackers of Bureau 121 generate more revenue for the North Korean state than many of its legitimate exports. They steal cryptocurrency. They hit exchanges in Japan and South Korea. They siphon Ethereum and Bitcoin from cold storage wallets. They use decentralized mixers to wash the stolen digital assets across thousands of anonymous addresses. They funnel hundreds of millions of dollars back to Pyongyang. They fund the ballistic missile programs. They fund the nuclear ambitions. The men sitting in those cheap overseas apartments are the economic engine of a sanctioned regime. If you find this breakdown of the invisible cyber war valuable, hit the like button for clarity uncovered. We decode the mechanisms of power that the mainstream ignores. Make sure you are subscribed to see what system we expose next.
But what happens to the human weapons when the mission is over? They are recalled. They return to Pyongyang. They are hailed as heroes of the state. The regime rewards them handsomely. They are granted spacious apartments in the prestigious Mansudae district. They receive flat-screen televisions. They are given imported luxury goods. Their families are elevated to the highest social strata. They have achieved the ultimate goal programmed into them since they were 10 years old. They have survived. They have conquered. But the reality of their existence is a meticulously constructed prison. They have stolen billions of dollars, but they do not own a single cent. The money belongs to the supreme leader. They have seen the vast, interconnected global internet. They have read the private emails of Hollywood executives. They have witnessed the wealth of the Western world. Yet they are forced back into a closed, dark society. They can never travel freely. They can never defect. They hold the most sensitive state secrets in their minds. To know too much in North Korea is a death sentence if loyalty wavers. They are trapped in a gilded cage. They are pampered, heavily monitored biological machines. They will continue to write malware until their cognitive functions decline. Then they will be replaced by the next generation of 10-year-olds currently solving calculus equations in the dark. The ultimate irony of the modern world is not that technology has made us safe. It is that the most sophisticated digital fortresses built by Silicon Valley billionaires and Wall Street banks are routinely shattered by men who grew up without running water.
A multi-billion-dollar firewall means nothing when the person writing the code to break it is fighting for his right to simply exist. The greatest vulnerability in the system is not a software bug. It is the absolute, terrifying desperation of the human mind on the other side of the screen.